When you're 52 and in love, you think you finally figured it all out. No games, no lies, just peace, and maybe, if you're lucky, passion. That's what I thought I had with her. She was 31, bold, beautiful, and said I made her feel safe. But last night, I saw her with someone else. Not just anyone. A 22-year-old girl who looked at me like I belonged in a museum. And suddenly, everything I believed about love, age, and loyalty shattered in one silent moment. The first time I saw her, she smelled like lavender and sin. I was sipping coffee at a bookstore cafe, lost in a tattered copy of The Bell Jar, when she walked in wearing a cropped leather jacket, combat boots, and that defiant smirk only young women with no scars can afford. She asked if she could share my table. The place was packed, and I said yes before my brain caught up with my mouth. Her name was Aria, 31, fierce, funny, the kind of woman who could turn boredom into art and heartbreak into a playlist. When she found out I was 52, she grinned and said, "Hot." Not, "That's okay," or "You look good for your age." Just hot. And that one word made me feel more alive than my last decade of dating ever had. We fell fast. Stupid fast. My friends warned me, of course. "She'll get bored," they said. "She's too young. She wants adventure. You want peace." But what they didn't understand, what even I refused to admit out loud, was that I didn't want peace anymore. I wanted her, the fire, the chaos, the danger of being loved by someone who hadn't yet been broken by life. For 6 months, Arya made me forget I was supposed to be careful with my heart. She moved into my apartment like a storm, her vinyls replacing my dusty jazz CDs, her lipstick tubes lining up beside my anti-aging serums. She danced barefoot in my kitchen, made me laugh in bed, and whispered things into my neck that made me believe magic might be real after all. But then the silences started. She stopped humming when she cooked, stopped asking about my day. Her phone, once left face up on the counter, was now always screen down. And she'd started using a new perfume, something fruity, too sweet for her usual style. I noticed. Of course I did. I just didn't want to ask, because asking meant I already knew the answer, because suspicion meant preparing for pain. Last Tuesday, she said she was going to meet an old friend for drinks. I smiled, kissed her cheek, told her to have fun. But I watched her leave, watched how her hips swayed with a confidence that wasn't meant for me. And I followed her. I know how that sounds. Desperate, paranoid, pathetic, maybe. But something in my gut screamed louder than my pride. She didn't go to a bar. She went to a rooftop lounge. And she wasn't with an old friend. She was with a girl, a tiny, radiant, 20-something girl with blue hair and glitter on her cheeks. I watched them laugh, drink, lean closer. I watched Arya touch her hand, her knee, her lips. I watched the woman I loved kiss someone else like I didn't exist. I left before the tears reached my chin, and I walked home alone. The hardest part, it wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't the cheating. It wasn't even the fact that she lied to my face. It was knowing I was right. Right to be afraid. Right to feel too old. Right to believe that in the end, love isn't enough to keep someone who's still chasing freedom. And that realization, it cut deeper than her kiss. The next morning, the scent of her new perfume still clung to the pillow beside me, a sickening mix of strawberries and guilt. She hadn't come home. No text, no call, just silence. But not the kind that invites peace, the kind that screams louder than any slammed door. I stared at the empty closet for a long time. Her jackets were still there, her favorite boots, the ones with the broken zipper she refused to throw away, lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. Her chaos still filled my space, but she was already somewhere else. And so was her heart. When Arya finally walked in, it was 9:47 a.m. She looked tired but satisfied. Smudged eyeliner, a lazy grin, phone still warm in her hand. And for a split second, I wondered if I'd imagined it all. If maybe she really had been out with a friend. Maybe they just got carried away talking, drinking, dancing. But the lipstick stain on her neck wasn't hers. Neither was the glitter on her collarbone. She dropped her keys, kicked off her heels, and looked at me like I was a couch she was too tired to sit on. "You're up early," she mumbled, walking past me toward the kitchen like I was just air. I followed her, not with rage, not even with tears, just with the weight of everything I hadn't said for months. "Was it worth it?" I asked. She froze, holding the fridge door open like a shield. "What?" "You don't have to lie, Arya. I saw you last night on the rooftop." Her shoulders tensed. That was the moment it became real. Not the kiss, not the lie, but the knowing. The fact that I had seen her choose someone else. She closed the fridge slowly and turned around. No panic, no shame, just resignation. "She's different," she said, like that was an explanation. So am I. That's not what I meant. Then say what you mean. And that's when it happened. The unraveling. Her cool, collected persona cracked just slightly, and underneath was the confused, searching girl I'd met all those months ago. I don't know who I am anymore, she whispered. You gave me safety. She gave me a mirror. I didn't go looking for her, I swear, but she looked at me like I was fire. I wanted to scream, to ask if I wasn't enough, if my love, my devotion, my years of knowing how to hold her when she couldn't hold herself weren't fire enough. But I didn't, because I knew the answer. She wasn't trying to replace me, she was trying to find herself. And in doing so, she had burned down everything we built together. I don't hate you, I said softly. Her eyes welled up. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, but you did anyway. The silence that followed was the kind that rearranges walls. She stood there, holding a half-empty bottle of almond milk, tears mixing with leftover mascara. I stood across the counter, decades heavier and completely alone, even with her in the room. Then she said the thing I feared most. I think I should go. And just like that, my house became a museum. Every object, every memory, frozen in time. The woman who had made me feel 30 again had left me feeling 80. But I didn't stop her, because sometimes loving someone means letting them walk away, even if it means breaking your own heart to do it. It's strange how the smallest things hurt the most after someone leaves. I still hear her laugh when I turn on the blender. It used to scare her. She'd jump, spill her coffee, and then laugh so hard I'd forget the world had edges. Now it's just a stupid noise in an empty kitchen, and I flinch for no one. I didn't throw her things out. I told myself I would. I even grabbed a box from the garage. But every time I touch her denim jacket or the Polaroid of us at the lake, I froze. I couldn't decide what was more pathetic, keeping them or pretending I could throw her out of my life like yesterday's mail. A week passed, no calls, no texts, not even a "sorry, are you okay?" And yet, I couldn't stop checking my phone. I hated myself for it. I'm not supposed to be that woman. I'm supposed to be wise, grounded, a pillar of experience who's been through worse and come out stronger. But I wasn't. I was just a 52-year-old with swollen eyes, reheated soup, and a voice that echoed too loud when I spoke to no one. Then, on Friday night, she posted a photo. It was the two of them, Arya and the blue-haired girl, kissing. Caption: Some things just feel right. I stared at it for 15 minutes before I let the phone slide out of my hand and hit the floor. The sound snapped me out of the trance, but not out of the pain. I picked it up, turned it off, and sat in silence. That's when I decided I was going to do something radical. I was going to live, not just survive, not just cry through every cup of tea, or relive her laugh in every creak of the house. I was going to remind myself that before Aria, I had me. And maybe that wasn't fire. Maybe it wasn't glitter and chaos. But it was something solid, something real. I opened the old suitcase in the back of my closet, the one filled with things I packed when I thought I'd travel more, before love and comfort made me forget adventure. Inside was a camera, barely used, a journal, a plane ticket I never cashed in. I laughed, not the blender kind, a tired, honest laugh that comes from realizing how much of yourself you forget when you're too busy loving someone else. The next morning, I booked a solo weekend trip to the coast. Just me, the waves, and whatever version of myself I could find buried beneath the grief. Before I left, I stood in front of the mirror. Same face, same lines, same tired eyes. But for the first time in days, I didn't look for her reflection behind me. I just looked at me. And for a moment, I didn't feel 52 or betrayed or broken. I felt like someone who still had stories left to write, even if one of them had just ended. The ocean didn't fix me, but it reminded me that the world still moves, even when your heart doesn't. I walked barefoot along the shoreline, letting the cold water numb my ankles while the salty wind tangled my hair. No makeup, no filters, just me, raw and sunburnt and strangely alive. I wrote in my journal every night. Some entries were angry, full of venom I never dared to spit when she was around. Others were tender, like soft apologies to the version of myself that forgot she was allowed to take up space without being chosen. On the second morning, I woke up to 5 missed calls and a voice message. It was her. Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I've been thinking about you, about us. I didn't plan any of this, you know. I don't know who I am anymore. And I miss you, that's all. I miss you. I didn't cry. I didn't call back either. Instead, I played the message again and again. Not because I was tempted to forgive her, but because I needed to understand. Why now? Why reach out after disappearing into someone else's arms? Guilt, loneliness, regret. Or maybe she thought I'd still be there, waiting, open-armed, too starved for love to set a boundary. But I wasn't. Not this time. Back home, everything still smelled like her. I'd left it that way on purpose, some sad ritual of remembrance. But when I walked in after that trip, something shifted. The smell wasn't comforting anymore. It was suffocating. So I opened every window. I aired out the bedroom. I played music she hated. I danced to it badly and laughed like a lunatic while tossing her shampoo into the trash like it was cursed. I finally put her things in that box. Every ring, every sweater, every piece of my life that still had her fingerprints. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like a funeral, but one I desperately needed. That night, I sat on the floor with the box beside me and a glass of wine in hand. I let the voicemail play one more time. Her voice cracked in the middle. She sounded small, unsure, like the confident, chaotic Aria I loved had faded into someone she didn't recognize. I whispered into the silence, not to her, but to myself. I miss you too, but I miss me more. Then I deleted the message. It felt like slamming a door, gently, not out of hate, not even out of anger, just out of a quiet decision that I deserved more than being someone's safety net while they chased glitter and chaos. The next morning, I didn't check my phone. I checked the sunrise, and for the first time in what felt like years, I let it light up my face, not hers. Spring arrived early this year. The trees in front of my apartment bloomed overnight, as if the universe was trying to tell me something about rebirth. I stood at the window, sipping coffee, watching petals fall like soft reminders that even endings can be beautiful. And just as I took my first deep breath of the day, my doorbell rang. It was her, Aria, wearing the same jacket from our first date, but none of the same fire. Her eyes were tired. Her lips trembled, even when she tried to smile. "Hey," she said, as if she hadn't detonated my life 3 weeks ago with a single kiss on someone else's mouth. "Hey," I replied, leaning against the door frame, calm and steady, at least on the outside. "I was in the neighborhood," she lied. I waited. She looked down, like the cracks in the sidewalk were more interesting than my face. "I just needed to see you. I can't stop thinking about you." I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I understood. Heartache does that. It turns people into ghosts that haunt their own decisions. "I miss your quiet," she continued. "I miss your mornings. I miss the way you touched my back when you thought I was asleep." For a second, I felt the ache swell, the old reflex to reach for her, to forgive, to start over like nothing ever broke. But I didn't move. You didn't come back for me, I said gently. You came back because she didn't fill the silence the way I did. She flinched, but didn't deny it. I loved you, Arya, fully, foolishly, beautifully. But you didn't want to grow roots. You wanted to fly. I didn't know I'd crash. And I didn't know I'd survive. That stopped her mouth parted like she wanted to argue, to say I was wrong or cruel or distant. But she didn't, because even she knew it wasn't true. We stood there in silence for what felt like an entire season. Then she whispered, "So this is really goodbye?" And I smiled, not because I was happy to lose her, but because I had finally found myself again. It already was. She cried. I let her. And when she finally turned to leave, I didn't stop her. I didn't chase. I didn't beg. I didn't whisper one last time. Because when someone breaks you and still expects a welcome mat, you owe it to your healing to close the door. I went back inside and brewed another cup of coffee. I played my favorite Nina Simone record, the one she used to mock, and I danced alone in the kitchen, not because I wasn't heartbroken, but because I finally realized heartbreak isn't the end. It's just the beginning of remembering who you were before someone tried to rewrite your worth. I'm 52. I'm not anyone's rebound. I'm not a second option. I'm not her home anymore. And that's okay. Sometimes losing someone is how you finally come home to yourself. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Love doesn't age, but self-worth never begs. Comment below. Have you ever had to choose yourself over someone you loved?